So recently I went on a trip to Oregon for a vacation, and on the plane ride, I decided to play some Splatoon 3 side order. It's been a while since I last played this, but man, I really love this mode. I would honestly play a whole entire Splatoon game dedicated to this. I do wish it was longer, but anywho, it got me wanting to make a challenge for myself. So I decided, why not make a fun video for you guys? My challenge is, the only hack that I can have is 3 lives, because boy do I make mistakes. All the other hacks are turned off, no extra defense, no extra drone slots, etc. And the most important rule is when choosing what challenge to pick on each floor, I can only choose the bottom choice, which is the most difficult one. Why this is so challenging is because I'm never going to know what I'm going to get. As you'll see, sometimes I get super lucky and other times I get something that actually ruins my run. So let's dive into side order chip challenge. If you want to check out the full run without my narration, I have a link in the description. Alright, now let's get started. So for my first try, I decided to use my main weapon, the heavy Splatling, and already off to a pretty decent start, I got armor defense drop increase. I will definitely need armor drops for this run. For the first floor, not too bad, just the chasers. Now, as a Splatling player, these guys can be a bit tedious. Would rather play the other modes, but at least the floors with these guys aren't too difficult. Next floor, I got quick charge, which is very nice. Stacking up these with a charging weapon is always great. I'm hoping I can get more of these. And not to mention I got a turbine tower mode, which is my favorite of the 5 challenges. And it was easy enough. I made it to floor 3, and I already got a rigorous difficulty, coverage between crosshairs. Probably one of my least favorites. I don't think it's the hardest zone stage, but it's just annoying, especially with the shorter range weapons. Thankfully with the Splatling it wasn't too bad. I did miss the sprinkler fish a couple of times, which took me a bit to get back on track, but I managed to make it. On to the next stage. 4th floor, and I got Pearl Splat Bomb activated. Heck yes. All the chips that help Pearl out are always good. She's saved me countless times. I also managed to get another Splat Bomb chip on the 5th floor, decreasing the amount of points it takes to get another Splat Bomb from Pearl. I hit floors 6 and 7, and I got 2 chips I was hoping to avoid. The first one was charge storage. I never use this for side order, I just never find a good opportunity. I think it works better for the chargers, but for Splatling on side order, it just feels like a waste of a chip. Then, I got mid-fire charge. The Nautilus and Ballpoint Splatlings both have this mid-fire charge, and I'm not great at using it, and this messed me up so many times. I like letting all my shots fire before charging again. It's just one of the habits I have of holding down the button while my shots are firing. I'm so used to the normal way that I kept making this mistake of charging mid-fire. It really messes me up later on. Floor 8, I got sound wave damage, which isn't the most useful since Pearl doesn't have Killer Whale. But I do believe it works when I pick up the drone discs, but don't quote me on that, I'm not sure. But it does feel like another waste of a chip. Plus, I got stuck on a rigorous stage where, well, I lost 2 lives thanks to the mid-fire charge. I did forget to mention, I'm also not great with the splash ball, which is the sub-weapon I'm stuck with. I can never get the throw right. Next floor, I got another Pearl chip, which is always nice. And it was a pretty easy floor. Then I got to my first boss, which was battling the Shadow Inklings. I was a bit nervous having only 1 life left, but it actually went pretty smooth. My Splatling distance was a huge help. Floor 11, I got some extra damage up with a pretty easy portal challenge. Not too much to say here. Then I got another chip that I didn't really utilize too much, the squid attack. I know it can be useful at times, but I don't really use the squid roll too often on side order, especially with the Splatling. It was a ball roll challenge, which is the easiest of the 5 challenges in my opinion. The next floor was nice, giving me 2 mobile ink recovery chips. Not only that, but it was an easy turbine stage. It did have a danger added to it with no item drops, which wasn't that difficult. This stage is easy, but the snipers can get pretty annoying on this stage. Next floor, I got some more close-up damage with a chaser challenge. One good thing about having the Booyah Bomb is it's probably one of the best specials for getting the escapees. They won't start running away until it's already too late. By the time they start running, the explosion's already going off. I got ink attack size for the next floor, which, it's okay. It's not too useful, but it can be good against the small enemies. This stage was a bit challenging, mostly because I kept falling off the ledge, and I seriously thought I was going to lose a couple of times, but managed to make it. Floor 16, I got can special drop rate increase, which is nice, but it was one of the hardest turbine stages. In my opinion, I think it's the second hardest turbine stage. Those snipers are ruthless and just keep coming. I honestly struggled for a good 5 minutes, but in the end, I lost. And look how close it was to the end point too. Oh my gosh, man. I made it 16 floors with the Splatling. I do seriously think the mid-charge chip messed me up. I think I could have done better without it. But anyways, let's move on to round 2. I'm gonna go with the Octobrush this time. I've always loved the brushes. The tricky part about it now is the distance I had with the Splatling is gone, and I'm left with a short-range melee weapon. Alrighty, let's do this. First floor, I got Squid Attack. With the brush, I feel this can be a little bit more useful, seeing as the brush is a little bit more mobile than the Splatling. It was a simple chaser stage. Brush makes it easier to get around and to get away from the enemies a little bit better. Floor 2, I got another chaser stage with Ink Saver main. Anything that saves me ink is always good. Next floor, I got Drone Gauge Charge, which isn't helpful yet. I just need to get a bomb or kill a whale at some point during my run, and then this can come in handy. Next, I got Explosion Knockback. This not only affects bombs you or Pearl use, but it also affects the portals you destroy as well. So I think this chip can be pretty underrated. Floor 5, I got 2 chips for main damage close range, which is perfect for the Octobrush. It's already at close range, so it just works out perfect. Only problem is it's a rigorous stage. This isn't too difficult of a stage, but I got too close to the enemies and lost my first life. See, I told you I make dumb mistakes. Floor 6, I got Knockback, which is pretty good for getting those enemies up close back away. I got the easiest Infinity Ball stage, which is more like an escort mode. This one always felt like one of the story mode stages. Next, I got Ink Bottle Drop on a portal stage. Also, if you didn't know, the Ultra Stamp is one of the best portal destroyers. It can destroy a portal so fast with just a few swings. Just a little tip if you hate portal stages. Next, I got more drone charging. This time mobile drone charge, which will be really good once I get a Pearl attack. Not to mention, I got a fun bonus stage with all the Pearl drone chips. I feel like all these stages are just a freebie. On the next floor, I got sound wave damage. My hope now is I get Killer Whale from Pearl, so this will be more useful. This is one of the more challenging portal stages, which is where I lost my 2 lives on my heavy Splatling run. I managed to make it through without losing a life. A lot of close calls though. Time for the first boss. This time I got the bouncy ball, which is pretty easy boss, but is just very tedious because he goes all over the place. Also, it can be hard to hit the main weak point with such a short range weapon like the brush, but thankfully I could get across the stage pretty quick. Floor 11, I got special charge up, which is always helpful. It was an infinity ball stage. I think the hardest part was getting it up the thin ramps, but still the ball stages are probably the easiest challenges in the game. I got another explosion knockback, and right away I made a mistake costing me a life. I tried to go for the torpedo launcher fish, trying to get a good explosion out of it. If you didn't know, hitting all the red spots on the launcher fish causes it to explode, which is super helpful. I was having a lot of trouble with this stage and kept forgetting to use my ultra stamp on the portals, but I eventually made it. Floor 13, I finally got Lucky Bomb Drop, which is one of my favorite chips. It causes little explosions from enemies you defeat every once in a while, and it can be really useful when hordes of enemies get too close. Next floor, yet another drone chip, but I still didn't have any weapons for Pearl. And, oh no, I got the stage I lost on last time. I struggled so hard on this one, especially because it had danger attached to it. The enemies were a lot stronger. I survived for so long and made really good escapes, but in the end, I was defeated yet again. Sadly, I didn't make it through with the brush, but I felt like I fought so hard on that last stage. Anyways, the next weapon I tried was the Dualies. Alright, I was going to do it this time. First chip I got was Main Piercing. Not bad. Could have used this for my Splatling. Very simple ball stage. Next floor, I got Splat Ink Recovery. Anything that helps your ink is always good in my books. It was a chaser stage using the Beyblades. Next chip I got was Homing Shots. I normally don't care for this chip, but with the Dualies, this is actually pretty good. Usually with the Dualies, you have to do dodge rolls to get a more precise aim, but with the Homing Shots, it'll kind of do it for me. Not that I won't use the dodge rolls to get out of the way. Maybe not perfect, but it helps. Fourth floor, I got Max Lucky Chain, which is a pretty underrated chip. Basically, it will allow for more items to drop from enemies. This one, Unexpected, was very helpful through my run. I made it through the zone stage with little effort. Floor 5, I got Poison Ink, one of my favorite chips to get. It makes your ink so deadly to enemies, especially if these chips stack. I also got to play a fun bonus chip stage with extra mobility. Floor 6, I got a boost on my firing speed, which is nice since these dualies are pretty slow. Now, like I said, I make mistakes, and I lost a life on this one. Man, this isn't even that difficult of a stage. Anyways, I finished floor 6. Next, I got 2 main range chips, which is fantastic. They started feeling like the dualie sculptures, which is one of my favorite dualie weapons. And then I started noticing the Max Lucky Chain chip coming into effect on this one. Special can drops were appearing all over, making my Reef Slider the MVP of this run. I got some extra damage up on the 8th floor, back to one of the stages I lost my life on before. The Poison Ink's so helpful, this time making it much easier to splat the enemies. Floor 9, I got Sub Saver, which is good for my curling bomb. But I did get this annoying zone stage. I kept missing my jumps, and the zone kept getting lost to the dang sprinkler fish. After a few jumps, navigating up and over, I made it. This one took me way too long. The first boss for this run was the Inkling enemies. They weren't too hard, but they kept breaking my shields really fast. Of course, my Reef Slider was super helpful. Floor 11, I got Rush Knockback, which is perfect for my Reef Slider. I got a bonus stage to not use my curling bomb, which was fine, especially for this infinity ball stage. Yay, extra money I can't use. Made it to floor 12, and I got Splash Damage. Yeah, this run is giving me so many good chips. My curling bomb, my Reef Slider, and the portals are doing so much damage. Then on floor 13, I got another chip, Sticky Ink. Now the enemies are both poisoned and also going to be extra stuck. This portal stage is considered rigorous, but if you know the trick to it, it's pretty easy. Simply use the platform to stay in the air and destroy the top portal first. Then work your way down, still trying to stay kind of in the air on the safe platform. Next floor, I got Turf Lucky Chain, which is just more Lucky Chain help. More items are going to be dropping now. I just have to deal with these annoying sprinkler fish. Then, yet again, I got the dreaded turbine stage that ended both my first 2 runs, along with having danger attached to it. This time though, I was ready. I had poison ink on my side, plus it gave me double chips for canned special drops, which means reef slider galore. The danger was thankfully just no drone, which is fine because Pearl doesn't have anything anyways other than gliding. This time I was going to be fine. Reef slider came in clutch so many times. As long as my ink was everywhere, the big guys didn't really give me any trouble at all. Next floor, I got some extra damage up. I sadly ran out of ink in the beginning of the stage and lost my second life. I didn't have much trouble after that. Again, my reef slider is the MVP on this run. Floor 17, I finally got Killer Whale for Pearl. It was a lights out stage, and it was kind of on and off for losing the zone, but I didn't have too much trouble with the enemies. I made it to floor 18, and I got Swim Speed, which can be pretty useful with the curling bomb. It was a pretty easy zone stage. Next floor, I got Drone Battery Drop. Along with the Lucky Chain chips, I'll be getting lots of these. Hoping to get killer whales more often from Pearl. Gosh, I can't express how much the reef slider is making this run so easy. I made it to the second boss, the layered rotator. It went pretty quickly, to be honest. I didn't have too much trouble. Just gotta remember to use the center during his big attacks. It kinda keeps you safe. Next floor, I got armor drop increase. Just adding more items to the list. This stage went by pretty fast. 22nd floor, I got drone gauge charge. Surprisingly on an easy zone stage with danger. It was dark and covered in black ink, but this is by far the easiest zone stage with all the balloons to burst. Not to mention my reef slider, of course. On the next floor, I got another drone chip for Killer Whale. It was another zone stage. I did miss the sprinkler fish one time and lost the zone. The zone in the center is pretty thin, so if you let a sprinkler fish by, you can lose your zone pretty quickly. 24, I got mobile special charge. Just more ways to get my reef slider faster. It's so overpowering now. Not to mention this turbine stage has always been kind of on the fun side for me. It is difficult with the missiles and the big guys carrying the sprinklers, but the reef slider got rid of the missile fish so fast, I had no trouble with this stage. Next floor, I got Splash Radius Chip. This was on the funny bounce pad stage. The reef slider on the bounce pad was pretty funny looking. Got through this one pretty quickly. I then got another drone battery chip with bonus points if I don't jump. It gave me 10 chances for the bonus points, but I used up 7. So just a few extra points that I don't really get to use anyways. Then I hit floor 27, and this was the stage I was actually really worried about. Combined forces striking in unison. It's the toughest portal stage in the game. Not only that, but it has danger attached to it. I already knew it was going to put me in the lights out mode. It gave me the run speed chip, which isn't the most useful for this stage. So going in with all the worry, I thought this was going to be the end. But surprisingly, it went pretty smooth. I completed it with not too much difficulty. With the reef slider buff, it was just so overpowering. I just didn't have any trouble getting the enemies away from me. The next floor, I got ink recovery and a rigorous zone stage. It's one of those zone stages you can avoid most enemies and just work on getting those sprinkler fish. The floor before the final boss gave me another drone gauge chip, and it was one of the most fun portal stages, the uphill ascent. It always felt like a single player mode stage to me, which made it kind of fun. I got through it really fast too. I almost thought it was going to be a new record, but apparently not for me. Then it was time for the final boss against Smollusk. And I almost thought I was gonna lose on the very first round. Twice. I got too overly confident. Thankfully, I shook it off and made it through to round 2. He was doing a good job at covering ground with the suction bombs. But my reef slider kept coming every few seconds, it felt like. It was pretty hilarious. I made it through round 2 with little effort. Now it was time for round 3. Thankfully I had the curling bomb, because I think it's the best sub-weapon to have against Smollusk, especially with his big attacks like the killer whale and the evil reef sliders. It's a great way to just get away from it. This round was going by pretty fast. There was only one time I got really worried because the reef slider cracked my armor. Along with that, I struggled with one of the portals that kept cracking my armor, and I thought I was done for a few times. But eventually I made it to the final portion and succeeded. I did it. I did it with the dualies. I managed to beat my chip challenge. I made 14,484 membucks. It was a fun challenge. I know I kind of copped out with the dualies, which I feel like they're probably the easiest weapon to use for this. If you want to see me go back and try again with the Splatling or the brush, or maybe one of the other weapons, let me know. I hope you enjoyed it, and let me know how you did if you tried this challenge out. I bet some of you probably did this with 1 life perfectly fine. Anyways, thanks for watching. Make sure you give this video a like and subscribe if you'd like to see more of this, and I will see you next time. Peace.